Hello again everyone, Edwin Learnard here. In this YouTube astrological segment, I am going to be dissertating and talking about an updated Jodi Arias natal chart. Now, in the previous Jodi Arias natal chart, I had her, based on a website, somewhat I felt, intimating or basically stating by the planetary positions and house placements, whatever they were giving her, that she had Aries rising. But recently I went to astrotheme.com, and it's a fairly pretty reputable astrological site, celebrity horoscope site, and it has her with the same birthday, July 9th, 1980, at 1:52 a.m. I guess it would be PST, since she was born in California, and gives her Taurus rising. So anyway, as far as the previous Jodi Arias video goes, the aspects between the planets that I was dissertating and talking about in that video segment, that would still be valid. The configuration that I had talked about that she had would still be the same. However, anything I was talking about as far as a house placement or an aspect to the ascendant, obviously disregard that, and we're going to go with this new, I guess we could say, the revised and updated Jodi Arias natal chart video. So anyway, let me start out, firstly, find out, her rising sign is Taurus, which can be, obstinate and headstrong, has some, persistence, and, obviously she showed, certain obstinacy and stubbornness in the courtroom by, maintaining that this was, never premeditated and, in any way, shape, or form, where, since she was convicted of it, in all probability, she, it probably was. And Taurus rising can also be the type of person that can be, very docile and passive until they're really aroused, and, can be infuriated when they're deeply angered. And maybe on that particular day of this heinous crime, she finally exploded, and she, even though you can't rationalize what she did, it's just the simple fact that she, in her mind, she reached her boiling point, and it's maybe she just, exploded on that particular moment. Now, next thing, obviously I might be reiterating a few things from the previous video. Her moon in Gemini, can be witty, verbose, talkative, loquacious, and intelligent, and sometimes they could do, many things simultaneously, even because they can be versatile. And she had the ability to do, I believe it was a headstand in the courtroom, while maybe she was contemplating, spending possibly the rest of her life in jail or the death sentence. But anyway, let me get to the next thing. Her Sun conjunct Mercury in Cancer, indicates some, could be a good, a solid mental aptitude, above average IQ, articulate, and loves talking to people, and ability to extemporize when speaking. And she seemed like she always had a snappy answer for whatever the prosecuting attorney was talking to her. Even if some of the statements didn't seem logical, she always seemed to have a quick, snappy answer to that. And it tells me, that plus some other elements in her chart. She has a couple, Sun and Mercury are in the third house, and ruler of the third in the first, tells me that she was maybe even smarter than what she let on, and maybe to some people, a few people out there, she could have been a plausible liar, but I think the majority of people were not fooled. Anyway, the next thing I want to talk about is her ruler of the 10th house in the 5th house conjunct Mars. This placement can be one that attains notoriety in their life at some level. The fact that the ruling planet conjuncts Mars in his chart could be something where maybe, unfortunately in her case, could attain notoriety for, something that was connected with something volatile, and a more positive element for somebody else that might have that, maybe they could have flourished in sports, but in this case, something violent was connected with her, the fact, her publicity and infamy. And she has Uranus in the 7th house. Now this could indicate fluctuations, upheavals, and unpredictable events connected with relationships. It may attract an eccentric, unusual partner, or there could be something bizarre or strange with the relationship in itself. She has Mercury in conjunct Neptune, and this could be indicative of someone that can be evasive and deceptive. Many things she said in the courtroom, a lot of people figured out they weren't veracious and were very well fallacious statements. And more likely than not, even though the moon in Gemini could be a plausible liar, she obviously could very well have been a compulsive and pathological one and didn't have that ability to really fool people, even though she in her own mind might have thought she was smarter than a lot of other people, but in reality, unfortunately, she may have outsmarted herself in thinking that. Neptune is in the 8th house. Now, this could indicate someone that is self-deluded in matters connected with sex. Perhaps somebody that could be unrealistically pursuing a sexual partner that they have really little or no hope of attaining, just unrealistic sexual pursuits. And the fact that Neptune is in the 8th house could indicate to me that if she is sentenced to death, and maybe it will be lethal injection, since Neptune is associated with chemicals. Next thing I want to talk about with her is her ruler of the 3rd house in the 1st, so just reiterating a little bit of what I've already spoke to you about, is that this could be someone with a voluble tongue and rarely at a loss for any words. The ruling planet is the moon in Gemini, and this coupled with Jodi's moon, Jodi's sun and Mercury in the 3rd house could make her somebody that really, this really reinforce, I guess, the loquaciousness and the ability to communicate and wanting her thoughts to be conveyed and communicated. Someone that must, where communication does figure prominently in her life scheme one way or the other. Another thing in her horoscope is the 4th, the 9th, the 10th, 11th, and 12th houses are all unoccupied, and in these areas or sectors of life, starting with home, family, higher education, career, friends, the goals, aspirations, and matters pertaining to private things, she might have felt some kind of lack or experienced something where she didn't really fully experience things in these sectors in her life. But now in all probability, she will never get to really experience these these things if she's going to be spending majority of her life the rest of her life either incarcerated or if she gets the death penalty. Mercury in the 3rd house, this is something where the mind can be versatile and have an ability to talk about a plethora of subjects, and can assimilate most subjects and very, very easily, but can learn some subjects, or a lot of them, superficially, and may lack persistence in learning them, which entwined with the moon in Gemini could reinforce this. As far as the learning, the lack of persistence, maybe sometimes. The next, last but not least, what I wanted to talk about in her horoscope is that she has the chart ruler in the 2nd house, and this could show obstinacy, can be obdurate as far as her value systems go, and emphasis on material and monetary things in her life, and there's obviously strong, very strong in her value system. And the sad thing is, if, speaking of valuing things, if only she could have valued human life perhaps a little bit more. Well, people, that will conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the updated Jodi Arias natal chart. Stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about Saturn, the ascendant, sextile, or trine Saturn in a natal horoscope. 2 things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel, but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis on a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.